Hello everyone and welcome to part 7 of Python programming series. This is Ram Prasad Pujari. In this session we'll focus on another very important Python library called as Matplotlib. In the last session we discussed about NumPy library. NumPy stands for numeric Python, and just like NumPy library, this is also very important. And before we start working on machine learning, it is very important to learn some of the libraries, and Matplotlib is one of them. And if you look at the group of libraries that I have mentioned here, and in the last session we discussed about NumPy, and today we'll focus on Matplotlib. Right hand side we have a machine learning framework which are used to build machine learning model to train or as well as test them, and we are going to learn about these libraries also, like TensorFlow, Keras and scikit-learn. We will focus on these three libraries, and but before that it's very important to learn Matplotlib. So today we'll focus on Matplotlib. And Matplotlib is mainly used for visualization, to create different types of plots and also to load and display images. So we can make use of Matplotlib. And what we can do with Matplotlib, so why Matplotlib is required. As you can see in this particular slide, we will be able to create some important plots, like continuous or discrete plots. These are the continuous plots that you have, and you also have an option to plot multiple graphs. You can create a multiple graphs in the same figure window like shown here, or you can plot two different waveforms adjacent to each other, one below the other, or more than two waveforms in the same figure window. So this we can do as a subplot. We can do this. We also will be able to load, let us say, JPEG or PNG images. We can convert these image files into NumPy array using Matplotlib functions, as well as we can display the images like this one using Matplotlib library functions. So in today's session we'll focus on these things. The one which is highlighted in red color. First we'll look at how we can create line plots, like continuous plots which are shown here, and discrete plots which are shown in this particular slide. And similarly we'll also talk about a bar chart, how we can create bar chart using Matplotlib functions. We will also look at loading image files and displaying images. And there are two different interfaces of Matplotlib we are going to use, and one is a Pyplot and the second one is an image interface. We will have the demo session now. For this exercise I'll be using Jupyterlab, and I have already installed the libraries like NumPy and Matplotlib. If you're using Colab, then already it comes with pre-installed libraries. You don't have to install them, and after installation you will have to import these libraries. And as you can see that my first code cell where I import relevant libraries, so I have a NumPy here, and then I have Matplotlib. As I informed earlier, there are two interfaces. One is a Pyplot and the second one image. So I import both of the interfaces here, and Pyplot I call it as PLT, which is a short form here, and similarly for image I use MPIMG. And Pyplot interface I have used here to create different types of plot as well as to display the image, and image interface is used in this case to load the JPEG or PNG image. So this is the first cell where I have imported necessary libraries, and now we'll look at some plots So how to create plots we want to understand using Matplotlib. And so the first thing, in order to plot let's say a sine or a cos waveform, then we need x and y of values, or x and y points. So x is basically an array here, so I use a function called as line space. So this function is available in NumPy. So I actually create an array with the starting value of 0 and up to 4 pi with 100 values, 100 points. So this is called as a linspace function. So this is my x, or x, I can say x variable. And similarly, so then I will, the NumPy has a sine function, np.sine, and sine of x already is defined here. So y1 will be the sine function and y2 will be the cos function. So this particular cell create x and y arrays. And then now I start creating the plots for which I require Matplotlib functions. So as you can see here, there is a Pyplot interface. So, and that is denoted as PLT. And here I have PLT.plot function if you want to plot waveforms. If you want to create plot, single plot or multiple plot, then you can use a function called plt.plot. And in the first case, what I want to do is, in a single figure window, I want to plot multiple plots like this. I have a sine in red color and then cosine waveform which is in blue color. So this is the function which is used, and x comma y1, and so this is the color of that particular line plot. This is a line plot. So x is the x label and y1 is the amplitude of this. So if I want to plot, create multiple plots using plot, then I can repeat this again, x comma y1, and the color of this line plot is red, and after that I can indicate the x and the y points, or x and the y labels for the second plot. So you will be able to plot multiple plots using this command. So this is the first part, which will give me multiple plots in the same figure window. So I can also add x label like this. Here it is time, and y label, which is amplitude in this case, by a function called x label and y label. So you can also put a grid here. As you can see, this is a margin or a grid using a grid function of Matplotlib. Now all these functions are from the library Matplotlib and interface Pyplot. And similarly, you can also give a title to this particular waveform, and I have given a title sine and cosine waveform. You can also put a legend here mentioning the color of sine and cos, and you have a function called legend. So this is the format in which the legend will be specified. So this is the first exercise where we plot, create multiple plots in the same figure window using a plot command and indicating x and y for both of these waveforms. So that is the first task. The second thing, let us say we want to plot separately in the same window, but separately we want to plot it as subplot like this, adjacent to each other. In that case, Matplotlib has a function called subplot. The subplot function does not actually plot the waveform, but actually it divides the figure window into subplots, sections or subparts. So here, if you observe this subplot, I can mention the number of quadrants that I want to divide this figure window. So 1, 2 indicates that 1 row and 2 columns, and the last number indicates the position of the plot. Now in this case, as I mentioned, subplot will divide this figure window into different sections, and it is followed by the plot function. So you can indicate the plot function, that is x y1. Y1 is for sine and it's in red color. So I can, and after that I can give a title, grid, etc. So this sine waveform will be plotted in the first position. This is the 1, 2, 1, and this is 1, 2, 2. So I can again call subplot function and followed by a plot function which gives me the plot, and then you can have title, grid, x label, y label, each one of them. So this is the second way you can create the plot. The difference between this and this, the first one and the second one, is the first one in the same window you can create the plots, whereas the second one adjacent to each other. You are dividing the figure window into several parts, then separately you are plotting them adjacent to each other, or maybe one below the other, etc. The next one, these two are continuous plots. They are continuous with respect to time, and you can also plot a discrete plot which looks like this, which has got a sequence of samples like this, and only difference is instead of plot function you will be using stem function for this. As you can see here, the remaining commands will be same. There is no difference. You can include grid, x label, y label, etc. Remember, grid, x label, y label, title should be added after the plot function or a stem function, but subplot must precede this. Subplot must be used before plotting any kind of waveform. So that is the first part of it. You can also, that is the discrete plot, as I showed you. Using Matplotlib, you can also plot a bar chart. Bar chart will look like this. You need x points and y points even for this. This is the bar chart, and I can define them. I can define x and y, but only thing is that the length of x and y should be always same here. So this is x, year, and y, in this case turnover in $1 million. So I can again use a function called bar here, plt.bar. Then I can also save the figure. If I want to save it, I can also save the figure. That is possible here using a function called save fig. And also I can give a grid, x label, y label, and title for this one. So last part of this exercise, so what we do is we import a JPEG image. So this image I have in the local folder and I want to import it, and for this I will be using a Matplotlib image interface. As you can see here, there are two interfaces. One is a Pyplot, and already I have used Pyplot interface for creating different types of plots. So now I will use image interface, which I named as MPIMG, and I will use this to load my JPEG image. So JPEG image is in the local folder. So I can use imRead function of this interface, and so that will give me a multi-dimensional NumPy array. And as you can see here, so now img is the variable, output variable, and type function will give you the type of that particular variable, and which is NumPy multi-dimensional array. And the dimension of this is 225 into 225, and it is an RGB image. It's a color image. So I will import this, and after that I can use a function called imshow of Pyplot interface. Now this one imRead, for loading or for importing JPEG image, I use image interface of Matplotlib, whereas for displaying it I can use imshow function, which is already there in Pyplot. So I can make use of it. So plt.imshow will display the image, and after that, if I want, I can give the title, and the title for this is aloe vera. So this way you can see that Matplotlib can be used for creating different types of plots, as well as you can also import and display images. You will be able to save the images to the local folder. So this is a quick introduction to Matplotlib. So similarly, in the next session we'll look at other important libraries. After that, we'll learn about machine learning framework. We'll start with scikit-learn, followed by TensorFlow and Keras. So thank you so much.